Welcome to Prime Latino Media Salon. And I couldn't be more thrilled to interview someone new to the family. And I don't want to say someone who's been tried, tested, and is true, and whose reputation precedes her, but Rhina Valentin. um, you know, you have to be deaf, dumb, and blind with no sense of smell. And I know it's politically incorrect to say that if you have never heard of Rhina Valentin. So, and I have the pleasure to introduce someone that I've just encountered recently, who I was unaware of before, Cole Ortiz-Mackes. And they were both in a wonderful production written and directed by Alberto Ferreras, Hamlet in Harlem. And we're going to talk about, my disclaimer, it is my favorite Shakespearean play, but to see Shakespeare's Hamlet, iconic Hamlet, probably his most popular play after Midsummer's Night Dream. And I'm sure the list, people would debate what's the best, but what's the most popular, with a Harlem twist. And before I start with La Reina del Barrio, which is what Rhina is known most for, being a proud East Harlem lady, where that section has often been called Spanish Harlem, but it's East Harlem, it's Harlem. But I want to start off with Cole because I like to always plant seeds and maybe see if something's not working out. So I said, Cole, because Rhina was brought in as the remake of the production just a few months later, because Barbara Herr, who had been in that particular role, ended up getting something in Puerto Rico, her one-woman show Transmission. So Rhina was the newest member to an already established cast familiar with one another. And I asked Cole, I said, how was Rhina in the production? And you're always wondering, where's this going to go? She's family, she's Madrina, Prime Latino Media, and he said, first of all, he said, Barbara improvised every night. Every night it was slightly different, and he embraced as an actor. And we all, as an audience and lover of content creators and channelers, embrace. But he said, Rhina brought in a new burst of energy. And I was like, ditto. Cole, how was it? It had to be some sort of an adjustment for the cast, but how was injecting Rhina in for 2 days of a production of a shortened season that has now, this is its second, and we hope will come back in November. But how was it for you as the lead actor playing Hamlet in this Hamlet in Harlem production with Rhina Valentin on board?
It was great. It was already going to be a challenge for the cast because even though we did have prior performances together, we had like 2-3 months without doing the show. So even though it was new for Rhina, it was still kind of new for all of us as well, coming back into it. But she was great. It was so impressive to see how fast she was able to adapt to like the climate and culture that we already kind of created as a cast. And she was playing around and experimenting, and in the 3 days of rehearsals that we had, but I had all the confidence in the world that she was going to, when there was an audience, that she was going to step up to the plate, and she did. And it was so much fun. It was, Barbara Herr is like, I don't know, she's like 6'3". So I'm used to constantly like having to look up when she's across from me. So with Rhina, it was like, oh, my neck was able to kind of have a bit of a break. But no, she was so much fun and incredible and so positive and lighthearted and warm and super funny. And she owned it. She freaking killed it.
And it's known in the industry, in our Latino independent artistic community, that Barbara Herr is a diva. But when Rhina texted me that she was in this role, and I love my family, but I can like, not a good role, not a great opportunity. And when she said, I'm going to be in this play, and which is really a chaotic reading is what the play is all about.
Yeah.
And when she said, and I said, and I knew that Barbara Herr had to go to Puerto Rico to do her one-woman show. And I just, yeah, I quickly connected the dots. I said, are you replacing Barbara Herr's role? She said, absolutely. And I thought, if you look up in Merriam-Webster's dictionary, diva, there's a hologram of Rhina Valentin. And if you move your head from left to right, she's actually smiling at you. And I thought, done. I didn't think of that. Why didn't I think of that first? I would have made that recommendation. So it was really great when Alberto Ferreras cast her. And what Cole shared with me is that most of his casting was done from personal relationships. So what was your relationship, Rhina, with Alberto Ferreras, who wrote the play and directed it?
You know, it's so fascinating because Alberto, who is the creator of HBO's Habla and Habla Más campaign, I had auditioned for Habla Más very, very many years ago. I mean, that rendition that had Mariposa in it, La Bruja in it, like all of my peers. And I didn't get it. He didn't, I wasn't cast in it. And I remember.
You know what? Here we go. A confession. I did the same and I wasn't cast. So you and I belong to a special club. Okay. And next time I see you, our club will have on the balcony of your apartment champagne, because we belong to a very special club. But look at the end. And as an actor, I want to speak to you. Haven't you throughout your artistic life been auditioned for something that you didn't get, but other opportunities opened later on?
Right, but this is why he cast me, because he wanted to cast me, and obviously he wasn't the only decision maker. So I wasn't cast, but he even made it his business after that audition, because I ran into him afterwards. He said, you know, like this was like afterwards, after it was recorded and everything. He said, you know, I always wanted you in that, and for whatever reason, no, he did, and I believe it too.
Again, you have to be crazy not as a reflection of our Latino community, and talking as someone from the community. You want to have Rhina Valentin's POV.
And so and so when he said that to me, you know, at first I thought it was just one of those things where, you know, they say to be nice and kind, but apparently it never left him. It never left him. And so here this opportunity presented itself. I think I had posted some picture of me from when I was out there pounding the pavement in California. I mean, I looked totally different then, but it sparked something in him when this opportunity presented itself. And I think he remembered. He's like, "Oh, right, she does character acting," and the role, to say the least, is a little on the scandalous side. And so he saw the sexy in me. I was like, "Would you be?" And what was really interesting was he was really tiptoeing around the whole thing, because I think maybe he wasn't sure if he was gonna compliment me or insult me. It was a fun conversation, and truth be told, I don't know if I was complimented or insulted. I was like,
right,
you know, wait, no, and I'll tell you why, because I didn't like the way it said aged porn. I don't know if I should give it away. Right. I almost said it.
but I mean, so many of the cast members, like if you look at the descriptions of the parts that they're playing, they're very different than how he like originally intended it. He just wrote that when he like first wrote the script.
Right.
Yeah. Right. And I would feel complimented, because, you know, you played a very challenging part in the play and he thought that you were able to do it, and you were. So it's a compliment.
No, I know, Cole.
Yeah.
You're so sweet, and thank you for reiterating that. I'm really just, you know, joking in the sense that the whole process, it was, you know, I was already overbooked, right? And that is pretty much the story of my life. My plate is really, really full. And in the decision making, it was a consultation between us both. And mind you, I still had to go read for him. I had to show up and read for him in person. He was not having a read through Zoom or anything like that. And so in that reading that I did for him, it was, you know, that was the deal maker. And as soon as I was done, He was like, I got to take a picture because it has to be my photograph. And I mean, he just has everything structured in a way he knows what he wants. And I appreciate that very much.
And what I love about this is that this is a master class what the two of you are providing that, let's face it, I don't have to tell you that actors, when you go for auditions, 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to get it. You know, you are warriors. You've got to have an extra shield of armor on to constantly live with those rejections where you walk out thinking you nailed it, thinking, you know, really striving for that role. And you end up with your tail between your legs, you know, in disappointment that you didn't get the role. But that, you know, if you really bring out your best in any audition, if you don't get that role, they remember you. And at a future time, this has happened so many times, from established celebrities to independent artists, that the two of you epitomize this. Cole, I want to touch with you that I spoke to you after the play, because at the end of the day, the play took place in Harlem, you know, and especially we're going to focus on East Harlem, where our Rhina, being La Reina. And I was like, you're Hamlet, you're in this BIPOC production, and you're like, you know, and you said, I'm half Colombian, I'm Latino. And I said,
no,
wow.
he says in the play, he says, I'm half Latino. And the thing is that nobody believes him.
Yeah.
Right. And that's, and that's why we're doing this interview, because I connected with you. And I said, I'm often called the whitest person of color in the world. And that, you know, when it was just Louis Perego, it was people assumed I was Italian American, which is why I added my mother's maiden name. And then when you pronounce it Perego Moreno, I'm undeniably Latino. And you know, TíoLouie, I'm definitely Latino, but I don't look it. And you know, I was attacked on the subway February 11th. And when I was attacked by a homeless, demented person, he was screaming cracker at me all the time. Oh. And there was a part of me that wanted to say, I'm Latino from the South Bronx, you know, but it was like, you know, you don't negotiate it with a demented homeless person at that state. Right. But it's something I'm sure you've had to live with most of your life, Cole. And how have you navigated those waters? That you're Latino, but you're not Latino. That you're a USer, but you're not a USer.
Yeah, I don't know.
Almost straddling those two worlds, that you belong, but you don't belong.
Right. I mean, since I was a kid, I've always known that, of course, I was Latino, and my connection to my heritage has been like just from going to my grandma's house as a kid and being with her and my grandfather, and eating her food and everything, and listening to her music that she would play at her house. But then, like, if I'm in school and, you know, if kids would ask, so like, what's like your ethnicity? And I'm say like, oh, like I'm half Latino and then I'm half white. And then, you know, ever since I was a kid, just, you know, they would always give me a look, or like, really, like, are you sure? Like, you know, what are you saying? Like, and I don't know. So then you would see kids that look more Latino than I do, you know what I mean? And so then they're able to wear, I guess, their culture more proudly than I was able to. And then after a certain point, you just kind of get used to, like, not, I guess, since other people aren't seeing me a certain way, then I guess I'm not going to try and present that side of myself as much, for fear of, you know, not like fitting in, or for fear of judgment, or, you know, people thinking that I'm trying to appropriate or take something that isn't mine, even though it is actually mine. And so, like, not wanting to offend anyone or to even have that conversation, then you kind of just, like, you know, move through your life with those feelings kept inside and it not being really discussed.
And the bottom line is, what's most painful is not belonging. When you know, you feel the difference between culture and identity. Culture, we're put in a bucket. Identity is, how do you identify? And when you do identify Latino, but you've got others saying, no, you're not really Latino.
Yeah.
You know, it's painful, because as you say, you proudly wear that. So proudly wearing the banner of actor is also Rhina, where I have seen Rhina in everything from serious dramatic roles, when she did a production that she spearheaded on women who suffered from domestic violence, okay? Or no one can rip comedy like Rhina Valentin when she did the one-woman show and did a Fly Girl from, I guess, the late 80s, early 90s, and she's bopping around and she's hysterical. And then every week she puts on her host hat and she interviews some very interesting hidden gems, but stellar beings from the Bronx, New York City, just working on incredible projects. So are you schizophrenic? Are you a chameleon? I know you're a bona fide actor and that you channel really serious, good interviews. Who are you at the end of the day? And what are you in regard to, if you had to sum up in an elevator ride, if someone asked, oh, what do you do? What do you respond?
I say I'm a creator.
Mm.
I identify as a creator because I'm a creative in the sense that everything I have my hands on has some form of creativity involved, right? And so it's funny that you would say, oh, are you schizophrenic? Are you a chameleon? I identify as a chameleon, but I will say that it has been through time and experience that I have been able to manage the switching on and off of the switch, right? There were times where I would struggle like turning off the switch, because when you develop characters, because I'm a spiritual being, okay? I mean, we're all spiritual beings, but truly, everything that I create and manifest, it starts there. It starts from that awareness of perhaps invoking, sometimes not intentionally. and so sometimes, I would have visitors and be like, okay, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to go.
Yeah.
And I had done a play a while ago called Mirrors that was my way. I did this with Sandra Rodriguez, and she was able to extract certain things from me so that each mirror reflected a different part of me, and the basis of the story was to align them. And so that's what I've learned to do with time, is align them so that the right one comes out when it's necessary and the wrong one isn't visiting when they're not welcomed, right? So,
No.
I know that sounds like a really crazy conversation.
No, but I think from the outside, knowing you for nearly 20 years, is that I think what you do when you do put on a hat seriously and you focus and you're very strategic about it, you bring out the best of each of those worlds. So when you're asked to be a comedic actor, you know how to turn that on. When you're asked to be a host and conduct a serious interview with someone who's worthy of consideration and exposure, you put that hat on. So I think at the end of the day, you just bring out the best. You bring out the best of that, of each of those. I want to ask, before I lose either of you, I want to start off with Cole. How was it doing Hamlet for you? At the end of the day, you were Hamlet. You were in the lead role. But how was it for you doing Hamlet, a Shakespearean play?
It was incredible. I mean, this entire part and being a part of this amazing production is honestly a dream come true for me. And Rhina mentioned manifesting, and like that feels like something that I really manifested and have been wanting to happen for a long time. Hamlet has always been, I mean, I feel like it's every, young male actor's dream role to play eventually. Never did I think my first encounter with the part was going to be in quite the way that it was through this play. But it's rare to get to be a part of a brand new original production that hasn't been done before, where I'm originating the part basically. There was like a Zoom reading before I was involved, but that doesn't really count. Like the first in-person version of it, I originated that part. And it's rare to also have a part where you're able to demonstrate your comedic chops and then also your dramatic chops, because the play, there's so many different dimensions and layers to it that I feel like I get to show a lot of who I am, because I really think that I'm like this goofy, quirky person, but I'm also this very deeply sensitive person and artist as well. And in my character my two characters who kind of then merge into one character in the play, the journey that they go on, I feel like I can really identify with, and it's fun just to be able to show those different sides of myself.
Rhina, in holding you accountable, because at the end of the day, you are recognized as the ambassador of East Harlem, which is why you're properly dubbed La Reina, the queen of El Barrio. And so how was it for you doing Hamlet, a Shakespearean play, but also more importantly, since you are held accountable, did the play do justice to your neighborhood and Shakespeare?
Absolutely. I mean, I happen to think that Alberto brilliantly crafted this story. The weaving that goes on in and out, and the educational component. I know some people don't like to hear that it's educational, but that's the beauty of what he did, right? It isn't done in a way that we're like bashing people over the head, educating them about Shakespeare and educating them about our culture as Latinos, and not only our culture, but the business and the culture that lives within the business, which I want to say was probably what inspired him to write it, because he works in the inside of the business, the commercial aspect of the business, and this is his project, almost like his speaking out of just like with the appropriation, you know, like I'm trying to bring light into the fact that we are capable of telling our own stories, and that our stories are valid and they matter, and that we are not just one dimensional. And that's exactly what Cole was saying. Like the way he wrote these characters, even my character, there's a lot of layers. There's a lot of a range that I got to play with. And so with regards to identifying the Hamlet in Harlem, the only thing that was missing is that it be presented in Harlem, and that's being worked on as we speak, my friend.
That's wonderful. And again, you know, sharing here at Prime Latino Media Salon, I'm TíoLouie, that, you know, I'm interviewing Rhina Valentin and Cole Ortiz-Mackes, who, you know, played roles in Hamlet in Harlem, that has already had 2 seasons, and cross your fingers, in November of 2022 actually returns again, because it is absolutely played to a packed house. Phenomenal response from the audience, very interactive. It did wonderful. So also in closing, then want to know from each of you, Cole, what's next? You're
Well,
only as good as your next project. You know, the problem with now, you know, soaring and excelling in this project, now you, in going up another rung, you know, you have to prove yourself even more so. So what's next that you really are looking forward to?
well, next weekend I'm shooting a short film called Accident Prone, which I'm acting in, so I'm excited about that. I'm playing it was weird, like when Rhina was talking about when she didn't know whether to be like complimented or insulted on getting that's how I feel about this character, because the people that are making it, they're like, oh, we totally see you as being this character, and meanwhile this character is like kind of weird and like obsessed with all these different surgeries that he's had, and he like is talking about it at a dinner party and like grossing everyone out, and I'm like, why do you guys see me as that character? But whatever, I'm excited about it. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna have a good time with it. And then in July, there's this project that I've been working on that's kind of like a family project called Boys in Summer, and we're trying to make it into a feature, but we're doing like a little workshop to try and figure out how we're going to shoot the short film, which will be the proof of concept to then eventually make the feature. So I have those 2 things lined up soon, and then I'm also just doing a ton of improv at the Pit, the People's Improv Theater. But that's what I'm doing as of right now.
Very good. There's something the 2 of you have been citing throughout the interview that it harks me to share, is my all-time favorite movie is The Wizard of Oz. And when Margaret Hamilton, who was cast as the Wicked Witch of the West, got a phone call from her agent who said, they're going to film The Wizard of Oz. And Margaret Hamilton said, oh my God, it's my favorite book. I love The Wizard of Oz. And she said, they're thinking of you for a particular role. And she said, oh, which one? They said, the witch. She goes, the witch. And her agent goes, who else do you think they were casting you for? And so it's like, you know, as we say in Spanish, no hay mal que por bien no venga. You know, everything happens for a reason. Rhina, queen of not only El Barrio, but your plate's full. What 1 or 2 projects are you in development that you want to share with that come out in 2022? Or I'll even take 2023.
Yeah, no, we don't have the time for that.
So give me a kernel. Tease us.
Figure out which ones, huh?
Tease us. Give me a project that you're in development, a best kept secret, or something that's going to be like, makes the audience think, wow, Rhina's going to be, she's now expanding her universe even more so, like unlikely for you to be in.
So as we know, I'm very productive.
Absolutely. Everything you
so,
say you're going to do, you make it happen. And that's why you are proven, you're the epitome of Prime Latino media. You are a proven content creator. Everything you say you're going to do, you take from inception to completion to accolades. And that is formidable. So what's next?
Ay, qué amor, ¿verdad? Se nota, ¿verdad? Right, Cole? He's like, I love you so much, TíoLouie. I mean, I really mean that. And really, we don't have the time to go over everything, but I want to say, like, I want to talk about my passion project, and then I want to talk about really quickly what's coming up in the fall, because I'm trying to operate methodically. I'm doing my best. And so, so that being said, my passion project is to help the at-risk youth. And so I've partnered up with the neighborhood safety initiatives in East Harlem. And I was hired as a production company to coordinate this graffiti wall healing event. And so we are now we finally got the approval on the walls, and we've been assisting like middle schoolers and teenagers in finding therapy within artistry. And I facilitate meditation, and I created a character called Helena the Crossing Guard, and my purpose is to guide them through intersectionality so that they can embrace all that they are and that they come with, while facilitating meditation with a color scheme to prepare them for that. It's very profound, and I'm very excited about it.
No, it's wonderful. And that's what I mean. This is beyond your universe as a comedic actor, as a serious actor, as a host of a series that interviews gems in the community. And it's like, we're not shocked.
Okay.
We're
but I want to tell you the next one too.
Right. We're surprisingly touched that, again, you're giving to the community. And as you said, from an earlier aspect of this interview, from your core of spirituality, where you're merging all your wonderful worlds together.
Yeah. And it's been a challenge, right, to merge comedy with spirituality, healing. And so I have so this already sparked another interest. I have another big event coming up in June 30th. I lined up like a stellar crew of women who are out there doing their own healing modalities. I created an event called Transformation Stations, Healing Amongst Nature. And my group consists of Mariposa, Iris Soto, Rebecca Gitana Torres, Joanne Jimenez, Isabel Rojas, Jeanette Torruella. I have my DJ De La Ceiba. And so, but the idea is that each person is going to facilitate a healing modality that is different from the other. One does essential oil. Oh, I also forgot Alba Hernandez. She's doing yoga. And so I am so excited about this, because we're going to be presenting this fair, or, this event, this experience, because that's really what it's going to be. And it's really geared towards the next generation at-risk youth. And this is another opportunity that the Neighborhood Safety Initiatives has presented me with. And what I've been loving is they've just been like, here's the budget. this is what we want. Do it your way. I'm like, oh my gosh, are you serious?
Bravo.
So I'm really
Bravo.
excited about that. And then I wanted to also say I'm doing Lincoln Center again. I have a wonderful partnership with Lincoln Center. And in September, I don't know if you remember, but I did Sancocho last year in Damrush Park. We sold out all those seats. I mean, it was free, but we filled the whole house, 1,000 seats. It was my creation, my production. And so anyway, I established a really wonderful partnership with them. And this year, we're not doing Damrush Park. We're going to be in the David Rubenstein Atrium. However, once again, another opportunity here, Rhina. We have a budget. What would you like to do? And I'm going to put this show together that is going to be recorded with multiple cameras. And my guest that is still, the calendar's held, but I think I'm safe to say that I will be doing an extensive interview with Sonia Manzano.
How wonderful. Who originated the character of Maria on Sesame Street, retiring just a few years ago. I mean, everything happens for a reason. We don't.
And she's also the creator of Alma's Way. We got to mention
That's
Alma's
true.
Way.
Alma's Way. I mean, she's
well.
retired and
Yes.
still kicking butt.
Yeah.
You know, she and I, for a brief moment, were on the mayor's Latino Media and Entertainment Commission. So she's also, like Rhina, doing for community. There's no such thing as coincidences. You know, the two of you may not have crossed paths with one another before, but you're in this brilliant production. And today's interview is, I hope you've inspired one another. That, you know, I'm serious, Cole, as you catapult to the next rung on your ladder, that, you know, look at all the hats that she's worn willingly, and from the pit of her soul. And that I'm sure she's also rejected roles that she didn't feel were aligned with her principles, and were compromising on images about our Latino community, which is what we fight all the time. So Rhina Valentin, Reina del Barrio, diva extraordinaire, wonderful host of her series on, you know, Bronx Net. And again, if you just want to put a quick plug in for that before we sign off, when is the show on?
So open airs every Friday on BronxNet channels 67 and 33. That's Cablevision or Optimum and Verizon 33. I shoot a new episode. The show itself is an hour. We advocate arts, culture, entertainment, women empowerment, youth development, and mental health awareness. I've been doing it for 15 years now. It does re-cablecast throughout the entire weekend. So if you don't catch the first episode at 10, you can watch it at 5, every Friday, and at 10 p.m. and it airs Saturday at 12. 10 p.m. and Sunday, I believe at 10 a.m. or something like that.
Well, that's wonderful.
And you can always go to bronxnet.tv if you
and
want
get it and get it on the internet.
Right.
Cole, good luck on your production next week. You're only as good as being a working actor, and you're working and you're kicking butt. So I wish you both all the very best. I'm TíoLouie on Prime Latino Media Salon, and again, it is a privilege for me to interview two leading actors from Hamlet in Harlem, Cole Ortiz-Mackes and Rhina Valentin. Thank you so much, and see you soon.